Masamune Okumura is an ugly low-life loser who has devoted his life to online pleasures, so much that he now has zero interest in real-life romance. He dumps all his time into reading manga, secretly hoping that some MILF next door might flash him someday like in those stories. Yeah, his expectations are definitely manga certified. On the outside, he pretends like he is winning, flexing confidence like Jake Paul, and dodging romance flags the way we ignore ads on videos. However, deep down, he knows life is about to cook him harder than Anthony Joshua on a rough night. And if you are wondering, yes, it is one of those long intros. Guys, it is Recap Sensei's return. We promise to skip long intros if we get a warm welcome and support from our YouTube family like before. Hit that like button and leave a comment. The best one gets pinned. Let's begin. The story kicks off with Masamune Okumura relaxing in the manga club room, fully immersed in his peaceful 2D universe. He is probably thinking about his ultimate waifu like a devoted scholar, studying sacred texts. Then suddenly the door swings open, and in walks Ririssa, a first-year student who looks way too stunning for his carefully protected fictional world. Now instead of being impressed, he is actually irritated. This man has publicly declared loyalty to 2D girls, so a real-life girl showing up feels like an unnecessary patch update. However, things take a sharp turn. Ririssa starts talking, and instead of normal small talk, she casually dives into hardcore anime trivia. She speaks about figures, character details, and even the logic behind certain outfit designs, with suspicious confidence. Okumura just stares at her like his system is overheating. Then she drops the real bomb. She is obsessed with Lilial. Yes, the same Lilial who lives rent-free in Okumura's heart. Before he can recover, she shows him cosplay photos and videos on her phone. And they are not random selfies. She has serious skills. The poses are accurate, the outfits are detailed, and the passion is obvious. Okumura's brain basically freezes because this real 3D girl is somehow respecting the 2D code better than most fans online. Then she calmly announces that she wants to shoot a high-quality cosplay video of Lily, and she wants him to be the photographer. Now his inner conflict begins. On one side, he has sworn eternal loyalty to flat perfection. On the other side, his dream character is about to materialize in front of him, and he gets to photograph it. After a short dramatic pause, he gives in because even he cannot resist that offer. Then she steps out wearing Lilial's angel costume, and reality kind of glitches. For a moment, it does not feel like cosplay. It feels like Lilial just crossed dimensions. Okumura cycles through shock, awe, and mild spiritual crisis in seconds. Meanwhile, Ririssa twirls confidently, like this is just another hobby day. Every small detail is on point, which honestly makes it worse for his sanity. At first, he is melting down. You can almost see imaginary steam rising from his head. However, slowly his photographer instincts wake up. He adjusts angles, suggests poses, and focuses on lighting like a professional. His panic fades and he enters creative mode. Somewhere along the way, his strict 2D-only policy starts looking a little unstable. Ririssa keeps changing outfits smoothly and confidently. Then of course her zipper gets stuck, and she asks him for help. His face turns red instantly, and his hands tremble like he is defusing a bomb. Every cell in his body is screaming retreat. Still, he carefully reaches out to fix it. Naturally, she slips and falls straight into his arms. Time freezes. They are way too close, and his brain officially shuts down. The tension is loud even without sound effects. And that is it. He runs. No speech, no explanation. He sprints home, questioning his life choices. Meanwhile, Ririssa acts perfectly normal, and is already excited for the next cosplay session, completely unaware that she just caused a full system crash in this proud 2D loyalist. Right after that, chaos settles a little. A new storm walks into school. Her name is Mikari Tachibana, and she is not just pretty, she is supermodel level pretty. So naturally the whole place loses its mind. Students rush from every corner while waving notebooks and phones. Meanwhile, cameras start flashing like it is a red carpet event, instead of a random Tuesday morning. The noise keeps rising and the air feels electric. However, in the middle of all that hype, she suddenly asks something totally unexpected. She wants to know if the school has a manga club. At first, everyone just blinks. Then someone nervously asks if she actually likes manga. Without even pausing, she says she hates it. Just like that, the mood flips, and the crowd does not know whether to cheer or reboot their brains. Meanwhile, inside the manga club, Ririssa is already vibrating with excitement. She runs to Okumura and drops the news about the transfer student. And not just any transfer student, but a literal supermodel. However, what really lights her up is the idea that this girl could become the ultimate cosplay partner. In her mind, the possibilities are already rolling like a high-budget anime opening. Then something small yet powerful happens. Okumura casually admits that he does not mind taking photos of her cosplay. He says it so simply that it almost sounds boring. However, for Ririssa it hits hard. All this time she thought she was forcing him, and she believed he was just tolerating her hobby out of pity. So when she realizes he actually enjoys it a little, her heart does a tiny happy dance. Because of that, she immediately wants more photos. There is only one issue. She is not wearing cosplay today. Still, she refuses to let that stop her. Instead, she decides to turn her school uniform into a full main character moment. She starts posing like a manga heroine, while exaggerating every expression and every move. Therefore, the classroom suddenly feels like a low-budget studio, with way too much passion. Then fate decides to have fun. One wrong step leads to a slip, and before either of them can react, she crashes straight into Okumura. They fall into a tangled mess of limbs and pure embarrassment. For a second, neither of them knows where to look. The photo session ends in chaos, and both try to recover whatever dignity they have left. Later on, things get even more dramatic. Okumura finds Mikari standing inside the manga club, with no cameras and no screaming fans. Just her looking at him like she has been waiting for years, because she has. She reveals that she is his childhood friend, and also that she has liked him since they were kids. Memories start flooding back. She once asked him if he had a crush, and he answered without hesitation. Lilial, a two-dimensional character. Zero competition. She also remembers when he protected her from teasing boys without thinking twice. That moment stayed with her. After 5 years away chasing her dream, she hoped he would change. However, he is still devoted to his 2D world. Even so, she cannot hate him. Unlike everyone else, he is not dazzled by her fame. He built walls after too many rejections, and now she wants to be the one who gently breaks them. When she later sees Ririssa dressed as Lilial posing for him, her heart almost short-circuits. Ririssa even invites her to join. Meanwhile, Mikari just stands there smiling politely on the outside, while internally fighting for her life. She stands frozen, and honestly a little shaken, because the girl standing in front of her is not just wearing a costume but straight up being Lilie. And the accuracy is so wild that it feels less like cosplay and more like someone pulled a character out of a manga and dropped her into the room. Every look, every small movement, even the way she breathes feels right. And before Mikari realizes it, the weight of the moment hits her, because this is what cosplay really means. Not dressing up for fun, but loving something enough to bring it to life. So after a bit of inner arguing, she gives in and agrees to join Ririssa's Cosrom project. But she does it on her own terms, because if she is stepping into Okumura's world, then she refuses to play a background role, which is why she insists on being Lilial, knowing full well that Lilial is his favorite, and the character that lives rent-free in his heart. However, reality is not kind, and no matter how hard she tries, she cannot match Ririssa's natural fit, because the blonde hair, the soft features and the effortless charm come to Ririssa without effort, and Mikari sees it clearly and accepts it before switching gears and choosing Miriella instead. That decision hits harder than expected, because Miriella is the girl who loves Ashford, while knowing his heart belongs to Lilial, and the parallel feels painfully obvious, as Mikari realizes she has been living that role for years as the childhood friend, watching Okumura chase an impossible ideal. Still, she commits fully, and when both girls step out in full cosplay, Okumura completely breaks, because shock turns into awe and disbelief, and for once he has no words left. Mikari pushes it further by leaning into Miriella's quiet longing, hitting every pose just right, and Okumura barely holds himself together. Then Ririssa suggests taking photos for the Cosrom, which should have been easy, but seeing both girls as his favorite characters overloads his brain, and he faints on the spot. After things calm down, Mikari explains the photos cannot be used because of her modeling contract, and although Ririssa is disappointed, she chooses not to dwell on it. Later, as they edit photos together, Okumura stays beside Ririssa with quiet support, and without saying it out loud, she realizes this is no longer just cosplay, but something far more real. After a full week of grinding through endless edits, tweaks and pixel-perfect adjustments, the final piece falls into place, and the Cosrom is officially ready, each detail polished until it shines, and Ririssa leans back with a deep sigh, letting satisfaction wash over her, though she knows she couldn't have done it alone. And when she thanks Okumura, her voice carrying more weight than she realizes, it hits him. He has been there every step of the way, pushing through the tedious work without a single complaint, making sure her vision came alive exactly as she imagined. Later in the hallway, Mikari pulls Ririssa aside with a simple question: casually curious, asking what she thinks of Okumura, and Ririssa's answer comes without hesitation. He's like Ashford, always there, always reliable, quietly helping her chase her dreams without expecting anything in return. Mikari watches closely and sees the signs, clear as day, even though Ririssa doesn't realize it, and maybe those feelings are already carved in stone. Meanwhile, Okumura wrestles with his own thoughts as the event looms ahead, feeling an unfamiliar mix of anticipation and nerves, almost like he's waiting for a date. And no matter how much he tries, he can't push the idea away. The next day, Okumura arrives at the station 4 hours early, following Ririssa's advice to avoid the crowds, and while waiting alone he starts second-guessing everything, even what he's wearing, until Ririssa finally shows up, dressed fashionably and perfectly, every detail clearly influenced by Mikari, and with time to spare they wander around a bit, trying to make the early arrival fun, until reality kicks in and Ririssa's feet start to hurt, forcing them to pause and settle into a quiet corner, pulling out their phones to watch anime and pass the time. Finally, they enter the buzzing event hall, their eyes scanning the massive crowd and flashing lights. Their booth set up but feeling incomplete, because no posters, cards, or promotional materials were prepared. And panic creeps in as Ririssa doubts herself, wondering if Lilial alone will be enough to stand out. Surrounded by the chaotic energy of cosplayers like Magino and her photographer Ojino, Ririssa feels invisible. But then Okumura speaks, suggesting she pose as Lilial, and though hesitation bites, his words hit hard. To him she is the cutest Lilial in the world. Confidence reignites, setbacks fade as fellow cosplayers step in with support. And moments later, Ririssa steps onto the floor, fully transformed, because Lily has just arrived. The moment shifts, and all eyes turn to her, the hesitation that weighed her down finally gone, replaced by something more confident. And people start gathering around the booth, cameras clicking, voices overlapping, all trying to get a clear shot. And even Ogino, who used to live and breathe Lilial, pauses to watch, a quiet admiration forming, because this isn't just a cosplayer, this is Lilial in motion. Okumura stands nearby, taking it all in, recognizing the change, the way her uncertainty has been replaced by presence, and he feels that mix of relief and pride he usually hides, knowing she had it in her all along, and now everyone else can see it too. Later, in the cramped changing room, the high from the event sticks around as Ririssa sits with the other cosplayers, laughing, swapping stories about costume mishaps, last-minute fixes, and all the small disasters that make these events chaotic but memorable. And she thanks everyone who stepped in when she needed help, realizing once again she couldn't have done it alone. That thought cements itself in her mind. She isn't stopping here, she's going to the next event no matter what, because this taste of success, even with all the stress, is addictive. Before leaving, she still has one thing to do. Outside, she scans the crowd, looking for the elf girl who helped her earlier, realizing she never got her real name. She starts calling out, heads turn, people stare, and finally, the elf appears, half amused, half annoyed, telling her to keep it down since she works at an office nearby. Ririssa stands there, arms crossed, frustration bubbling, thinking about the event ending without selling a single cosroom, mistakes piling up and time working against her, only to hear from Eri that even Mayura, her idol, sold nothing at her first event and has retired, and that thought hits her, leaving a hollow weight she can't shake. Later, walking home, she tells Okumura that Mayura was her reason for starting cosplay, the reason she pushed herself so hard, and losing that presence feels like losing part of herself. But another thought creeps in. If she keeps attending events, maybe she will meet her again someday. Then, softly, she turns to Okumura and thanks him for standing by her, and suddenly realizes she has feelings for him, but quickly shuts it down, insisting she loves him as her cosplay partner. The words landing heavier than she expects, Okumura barely reacts, and the silence between them says more than either of them admits, leaving their feelings tangled beneath the surface. The next day, Mikari wakes up feeling a tight knot in her chest, thinking again about what almost happened between Ririssa and Okumura. She can't get the memory out of her head, the way it could have been a perfect moment for Ririssa to make a move, a moment where everything could have changed, and the thought alone makes her panic rise. She decides to head straight to the manga club to see for herself what really happened, hoping to find some clue or answer. When she arrives, she sees Ririssa alone, barely dressed in her underwear, and greets Mikari like nothing unusual is happening, while casually thanking her for the fashion advice from yesterday. Mikari, though surprised by the audacity, doesn't lose her focus and immediately asks the question she came for. Did Ririssa seduce Okumura at the event? Ririssa's answer hits like a splash of cold water. She only loves Okumura as a photographer. At first, Makari feels confused, like the words don't make sense, but then a small sense of relief settles in because if Ririssa is this clueless, then Makari still has a chance. Before she can probe further, Ririssa gets called away for extra classes, tossing her things to Makari as she bolts down the hall, only to bump into a teacher. She almost loses balance, but the teacher interrupts with an offhand comment about avoiding cuts or bruises that might ruin her looks. The compliment is so unexpected that Ririssa can't help but mutter thanks before hurrying off again. Meanwhile, in the manga club, curiosity takes over Makari. She looks at Ririssa's belongings and before she knows it, she's slipping into Lilial's costume, trying to step into the character for herself. Then Okumura walks in, and for a moment, both of them freeze. Makari doesn't have Ririssa's figure, yet Okumura is already flustered, struggling to breathe as she stands there in the costume. Watching him struggle quietly amuses her, and seeing that he's clearly drawn to Lilial, she decides to push the moment, jumping straight into his arms, sending him into a meltdown, leaning closer and teasing that he can touch her wherever he wants. The tension is thick, but instead of breaking, Okumura manages to speak. Lilial belongs to many people, he says, and it wouldn't be fair to cross that line with her. Makari freezes, caught off guard, but the sincerity in his voice makes him look oddly cute, and she can't help but wish he felt the same way about her. Just then, Ririssa returns, stepping into the room as they hold hands. She doesn't wait for an explanation, pushing Okumura aside and taking his attention without hesitation. Makari shrinks back, doubting her own ability to embody Lilial like Ririssa does. But Ririssa simply explains that cosplay is about bringing the character to life, no matter who you are. Okumura adds that even flat chests have their own fanbase, leaving Makari unsure whether to be touched or insulted. But before she can process, Ririssa shifts to playfulness, teasing and causing chaos, making the room explode with energy. Later, Okumura steps away with Ogino to work on improving his photography skills, heading to a Japanese-themed studio where Ogino explains the importance of timing, focus, and environment. Then Magino enters in a tight kimono and Okumura is frozen, starstruck. Ogino rushes to adjust her outfit, and finally the photo shoot begins. Okumura follows Ogino's guidance, learning how to frame shots, capture movement, and tell a story. Magino shows him the difference between technically correct photos and ones with emotion, pushing him to take risks and support the cosplayer's vision. When she asks about his feelings for Lilial, Okumura denies having a crush but admits the close-up experience is new and overwhelming. Magino warns him that bottling feelings only leads to regret, and reminds him to face emotions rather than hide. Okumura, watching everything, notices Ririssa's presence at the event had reignited something in him too, reminding him why the cosplay world is exciting. He explains that 4 women, the 4 heavenly queens, dominate the scene, yet more talents keep rising, making it unpredictable and thrilling. Okumura asks about Mayura, and Ogino confirms she disappeared after last year's summer comet, leaving a gap in the community and opening the door for someone new to shine. Seeing Ririssa's impact at the event, Ogino realizes she might fill that role. A new rivalry is forming, and Okumura understands that if he wants to keep up, he needs to work alongside Ririssa, not as a bystander but as a team. He also learns Ririssa's real name, and promises to keep it secret if she attends the next event. The following day, the student council evaluates club performances, deciding which clubs thrive and which will be demoted. Okumura and Ririssa meanwhile are focused on their own world, reviewing swords and cosplay magazines. Ririssa comes up with the idea of Lilial in chains, sparking a new photo shoot concept. She steps into character effortlessly while Okumura applies Ogino's lessons, adjusting focus, framing, and composition to capture tension and vulnerability. The results impress Ririssa, who praises Okumura for actually taking the effort to learn. Finally, Okumura meets her gaze and declares they are a team, ready to support each other fully. Ririssa admits that cosplay has become more than a hobby. It's about excitement, challenge, and reaching for something bigger. Okumura agrees, feeling the same, and they silently promise to see how far they can go together, side by side. Suddenly, the student council interrupts, informing Okumura that due to low membership, the club room will be given to another club, marking a new challenge for them both. Okumura stares at the situation and honestly it looks bad. The manga club is about to get swallowed by the aquarium club, and just thinking about it feels like losing before the fight even starts. Something has to change. Ririssa, always looking on the bright side, suggests getting an advisor, because without one, the club is basically doomed. Okumura, being the responsible type, or at least trying to be, decides he's going to do whatever it takes to keep the club alive. He goes on a full hunt, asking every teacher he can find if they'll help out, and one by one he gets shot down. Just when it seems like there's no hope left, a teacher points him toward Hanyu, the newest faculty member. Following the tip, he finally finds her, and then the punch hits. Hanyu isn't just a teacher. She's Mayura, the Mayura Ririssa worships, the legendary cosplayer who disappeared from the scene years ago. She left it all behind for a quieter life, and no one thought she'd ever come back. Okumura explains everything, from the club's struggles to their plans, and Hanyu listens, intrigued at the mention of manga and cosplay, but she doesn't commit. The past is the past, she says, and she's sticking to teaching. But then Okumura brings up Ririssa, her energy, her obsession with cosplay, the way she idolizes Mayura, and something in Hanyu flickers. Eventually she agrees to help. Still, having an advisor isn't enough. Hanyu makes it clear, they need to prove the club matters, show the student council why it should even exist. That means a solid report. To make it happen, she suggests a little outreach. Okumura and Ririssa go to an elementary school to teach kids about manga, as a community project. Disaster hits instantly. The kids couldn't care less, running around screaming, completely ignoring everything they're trying to do. Then Ririssa steps up, decides to cosplay as Lily, and suddenly the kids are glued to her. Chaos fades, attention locks in, and finally the plan works. The report comes together without another disaster. Meanwhile, Hanyu gets a call from Eri, an old friend, who drops the idea that maybe Hanyu should show up at the next cosplay event as Mayura, just to see Ririssa. The thought sticks. Next day, Hanyu walks into the manga club, expecting the report, only to find Masamune and Ririssa shaking their heads. They aren't using it. Hanyu keeps insisting that they must submit something. But the duo stands firm, knowing deep down that the report feels dishonest. They realize that cosplay is something they are proud of, and hiding it for approval would betray themselves. Instead of lying, they decide to scrap the old report and make a new one that truly shows who they are. Hanyu listens carefully, understanding their point, but she reminds them that reality has rules. No report means no club. Then Ririssa brings up the big cosplay event coming soon. Hanyu immediately shoots the idea down, warning them how harsh the outside world can be to cosplayers. She insists they use the fake report to protect their club. Ririssa refuses firmly, saying that keeping the club is not worth betraying their passion. The words strike Hanyu harder than she expected. She remembers her own past, the struggles, the criticism, the times she wanted to give up. Frustration rises, but then something else sparks inside her. Ririssa speaks again, saying that even if the world looks down on them, she will never be ashamed of what she loves. She will not lie or betray herself. Something inside Hanyu cracks. The fire in Ririssa, her determination, her refusal to back down, it sparks something long buried. Adrenaline rises. Hanyu steps back and stops opposing them, but she raises the stakes. Attending the event is not enough. If they want the student council and principal to notice their club, they need to be the most popular cosplayers there. No other way. Later in a manga store, a strange girl wipes out the shelves, buying every single card and piece of merch for a character named Kai. Her obsession draws stares, but she does not care. Meanwhile, Okumura is on the phone with Ogino discussing the event. Suddenly Ogino drops a bomb. One of the 4 heavenly queens of cosplay, Nagomi, will be there, not just as a guest but running an official booth. Her announcement alone has gone viral. Ogino warns Okumura to watch out. Back at the studio, the same girl is surrounded by assistants, changing costumes. The truth comes out. She is Nagomi, the Nagomi him. She has dedicated herself fully to being the perfect 2D girl for Kai, refusing real-life distractions. The day of the event arrives. Okumura, Ririssa, and the crew step inside. Stunned by the scale, nerves rising, but they press forward because they have a goal. Ririssa freezes at first, haunted by memories of her last event, the awkward moments, the embarrassment. Then she looks at Okumura. He knows exactly what to say and tells her that her Lilial is the cutest in the world. Doubt vanishes immediately. The atmosphere changes as Nagomi appears, drawing a huge crowd. Ogino and Okumura scout the venue, planning their strategy. They cross paths with Nagomi, who is absorbed in a game, surrounded by her dedicated support group. She finally notices Ririssa, remembering the last event. She tells her cosplay is too 3D, but gives her a challenge, show who loves cosplay more, and warns that she will only be there until noon. Ririssa is shaken but realizes Nagomi is not an enemy. She is a prodigy, someone worth learning from. Inside the dressing room, chaos unfolds, but Ririssa focuses on her Lilial costume. She reminds herself that this is not to impress Nagomi but for her club, for her dream. Nagomi stands in her dressing room, the costume fitting perfectly. She looks stunning, and everyone around her can't help but compliment her. Still, something feels off, and her manager notices. Slowly the truth comes out. Ririssa reminds her of Mayura, the cosplayer who stuck to just one character. Nagomi had never liked that approach. She constantly switched costumes, trying to do better. Yet Mayuri's focus always outsold her no matter what she tried. The frustration never left her. Nagomi insists she isn't a villain. She sees potential in Ririssa, but watching her follow the same path makes her uneasy. She fears Ririssa might burn out like Mayura did if she doesn't push herself. When her manager asks if she resents Ririssa, Nagomi sighs. She said harsh words before, but she doesn't dislike her. She just worries that without effort Ririssa won't last in the cosplay world. Meanwhile, Magino is ready in her dressing room, glancing at Ririssa who is still sitting on the floor, costume untouched. Ririssa says they should go on without her, but Magino doesn't argue. She walks out, finding Okumura and Ojino almost immediately. Okumura notices right away that Ririssa isn't with her, but Magino reassures him. Ririssa just hasn't changed yet, and if she struggles he should help her. Before Okumura can reply, a movement catches his eye. Nagomi enters the hall, and everything changes. She's not like the others. Even with Lilial there, she carries something unique, something slightly unsettling. The manager watches silently, thinking maybe Nagomi is too deep into her 2D obsession. For Nagomi it feels like a reward for her dedication. She throws herself fully into the character, quirks and all, every movement and expression perfected. Time passes but confusion spreads. An hour goes by, and the main venue is still quiet. People check and find the crowd outside, all drawn to Nagomi. Photographers surround her, leaving no space inside. Her manager urges her to take a break, eat, drink, rest, but she refuses. She won't break character. She waits, waiting for her Kai. Meanwhile, Ririssa is missing, so Okumura calls. When she finally answers, her voice trembles. She can't find her skirt. Hanyu, Magano and Ogino listen as Ririssa insists she packed it. Magano guesses someone took it by mistake, but checking every cosplayer isn't possible. Okumura volunteers to check lost and found. Ririssa tries to brush it off, but her voice cracks. Losing the skirt feels like losing her place in the cosplay world. Magino notices Ririssa hasn't shaken off Nagomi's words. Okumura decides he can't let it go. Minutes later, he finds her alone, eyes red from holding back tears. He sits beside her, steady but firm, reminding her of their promise. He doesn't have perfect words or a way to fix everything, but he won't let her give up. Ririssa thinks about the report and the weight of the event, but Okumura stops her. Forget the report, he says, forget everything else. Right now, only this moment matters, only her love for cosplay which started for Lilial, not for a report. His words hit hard, and the weight of everything crashes down on her. Okumura leaves without another word, telling Magino and Ojino to focus on their tasks. Sensing her despair, Hanyu steps in. She admits she overheard everything and asks what Ririssa plans to do next. Tears come again as Ririssa sobs, saying she's never seen Okumura so angry and feels responsible for everything. Hanyu comforts her, telling her not to blame herself. Ririssa laments that despite all her promises, nothing has gone right. Then Hanyu shares her story. She had no friends growing up and often sat alone because of her unusual interests. One day Mayura showed her a cosplay she wanted to make, and a home economics teacher helped her. That moment changed everything. Hanyu laughs, saying she never would have become a teacher without that support. She pats Ririssa's head, reminding her that no one can escape what they truly love, then leaves to handle her own matters. Ririssa watches her go, feeling worse, thinking she's disappointed not just Okumura but Hanyu too. Meanwhile, Okumura walks the hall, asking cosplayers if anyone accidentally took Lilial's skirt. Magino and Ojino watch from afar, remembering his promise to Ririssa. As she sits, unsure what to do next, a familiar figure appears, Mayura fully dressed in cosplay. Ririssa stares, shocked, not realizing Mayura is actually Hanyu. Mayura listens as Ririssa pours out her heart, explaining why she started cosplay, the excitement, the struggles, and the uncertainty weighing her down. Mayura acknowledges how complicated it feels. She says she started cosplaying for herself to change something inside, but kept going for the joy of it. She didn't return only for herself, she came back to give Ririssa strength. Mayura hugs her, then steps back, asking the one thing that matters. Does Ririssa still want to cosplay? She reminds her she isn't alone and has a partner sharing her passion. Before Ririssa can answer, Okumura rushes in holding something. The missing skirt. Tears appear as he hands it to her, speaking calmly. Passion is what matters. A true otaku never judges someone for what they love. Forget society, forget the pressure. He says, cosplay isn't about Lilia or proving anything, it's about her. Ojino steps in urgently. Nagomi's photo shoot is finishing, and they have only 10 minutes to attract fans before the crowd disperses. Panic sets in. Ririssa needs an hour to change, but there's no time. Then Mayura steps forward. Okumura and Ogino freeze. She's here, the Mayura. She tells Ririssa to keep going, to persevere, because Okumura has worked hard, and as their advisor she won't let them fail. The manager signaled that Nagomi's photo shoot was finished, but she refused to leave. Kai hadn't shown up yet, and she was determined to wait for him no matter what. The manager cautioned her to relax, but she ignored him completely. Rooted in place, Okumura scanned the dispersing crowd and realized that if they left now there would be no chance to pull them back. Then Mayura stepped forward, and the effect was immediate. The crowd turned as one, cosplayers, photographers, and onlookers alike, all moving toward her booth almost instinctively. Nagomi felt irritation rise. Today, for the first time, she was no longer the center of attention. Frustration coiled inside her, hot and insistent. In a defiant move, she yanked off the lower part of her costume, revealing her toned form. She wasn't finished. She refused to lose to Mayura again. The audience wavered, torn between the two, and Okumura forced himself to remain calm, knowing one misstep could make things worse. When Mayura transformed into character, it was complete, effortless, but not for herself. She did it to give the next generation a chance to shine. Nagomi had always lived in Mayura's shadow. No matter how much she excelled, Mayura remained quietly in the background, yet commanded all the admiration. That reality sparked her anger and restlessness. People adored Mayura's characters, not Mayura herself. Nagomi struggled to understand why people didn't love characters the way she thought they should. Doubts crept in. If cosplay wasn't about loving the character, what was it really about? She realized it had never been about cosplay for her. Her heart had always belonged to one person, Mr. Kai. Mayura, meanwhile, recognized Nagomi's determination. Ogino praised it, calling it the pinnacle of the craft, cosplay becoming something beyond dressing up and pretending. Ririssa, still finishing her costume, wasn't perfect yet, but Okumura's words echoed in her mind. Effort, passion, and love for the craft mattered more than perfection. Nagomi saw it differently. No matter where Mayura stood, she felt inferior. She pushed herself endlessly, yet it was never enough. Even a simple smile felt forced. Mayura remembered when Nagomi used to love cosplay, enjoying time with beginners and veterans alike. Then everything shifted. Nagomi had announced she wanted to go professional after an agency reached out, while Mayura, seeing cosplay as passion rather than a career, couldn't follow that path. That had created the rift. Nagomi's obsession with surpassing Mayura blinded her to her own success. Her popularity grew, her sales increased, yet she never celebrated it. Every negative comment lingered, eating away her joy. Mayura finally understood. Nagomi no longer loved what she was doing. Calmly she stepped back, expression steady, and reassured Nagomi that this wasn't a competition. She didn't want to fight her. Instead, she intended to introduce someone who could change everything. For Mayura, cosplay was about love for the character, and once the crowd saw it, they would fall in love too. When Ririssa finally stepped out, the atmosphere shifted. Lilial had arrived. The crowd froze, captivated instantly. She wasn't just cosplaying, she was Lilial, a living embodiment of an angel. Nagomi felt surprise as Ririssa stood tall, unshaken by setbacks, radiating joy rather than competition. Mayura quietly slipped away to change, confident she didn't need to intervene. Ririssa had already won in her own way. Excitement rippled through Ririssa as she invited the crowd to take pictures. Ogino and Okumura stood ready, supportive. A whisper ran through the audience about Lilial's glow. Lost in admiration for both Lilial and cosplay itself, Ririssa felt a shift inside her. Doubts vanished. She loved this, she always had. The crowd thickened, drawn to Lilial's energy, while Nagomi watched envious. Ririssa wasn't struggling. She wasn't doubting herself. She was simply happy. Understanding dawned on Nagomi. Ririssa hadn't come to compete. She had come to express her love for cosplay. Nagomi saw it in her face, the same joy she once felt at the start of her own journey. Memories of her first cosplay flooded back. The rush, the thrill, the admiration. Somewhere along the way she had lost herself. Going professional had pulled her away from the community she loved, and she had forgotten how to enjoy it. Standing there, she finally let go. Her staff clattered to the ground. She turned to the crowd and apologized, admitting she needed time. She had decided to return to where it all began. Mayura watched, relieved. Nagomi hadn't crumbled. She hadn't given up. She had simply released the weight she carried. Nagomi thanked Ririssa, steady and sincere, for reminding her of cosplay's simple joy. A spark reignited within her, a vow forming anew, to shine, and to be seen by the one she had been seeking all along. Meanwhile, the goblin duo observed as Lilial captivated the crowd. Energy built. Okumura noticed Nagomi's audience expanding as well. Ogino admired Liliel's ability to hold attention. She cycled through poses and expressions effortlessly, leaving the crowd wanting more. Ririssa felt a flicker of nerves, her first time before such a large audience. But countless hours of preparation, her passion and love for Liliel carried her through. She shone even brighter, softly thanking Nagomi, not for the rivalry, but for reminding her of the essence of cosplay. Nagomi's perception shifted. What she had dismissed as a newbie's attempt had become a worthy rival's triumph, inspiring her to shine even brighter beside her. The crowd keeps swelling, a sea of excitement clustering around Liliel, and Nagomi's photographer can barely believe it, muttering that crowds like this usually only form at Comet, which makes the hype for a brand new cosplayer even crazier. And the thought lingers in the back of everyone's mind that Ririssa might just be the next cosplay queen. Nagomi glances at the time, raises her hand to mark the end of her shoot, and as she turns to apologize to her manager, the words catch in her throat. Then she blurts out the truth. This is the cosplayer she's been searching for all along. The event winds down, and Ririssa wraps up her own session, thanking everyone for their support. But before anyone can ask for contact info, she bolts, sprinting away as her costume starts to fall apart, bursting into the main building and crashing straight into Okumura. She clings to him without hesitation, emotions spilling over in a mix of relief and exhaustion, and before she can stop herself, the tears start falling. Okumura doesn't flinch. He reassures her, telling her she was the main character today, and that everything will be fine. While from a distance, Hanyu watches silently, a small smile on her lips before slipping away, only to run into Eli, who wastes no time scolding her for ghosting everyone all this time, and delivering a verbal smackdown to whatever walls Hanyu had left standing. Meanwhile, Ririssa, still riding the high from the event, heads toward the changing room and runs into Nagomi. For a second, tension hangs in the air, but chaos quickly takes over as they fangirl over each other's cosplay, snapping a photo together and swapping numbers before Okumura walks in, and the moment shifts again when Nagomi spots him, realizing he's the Kai lookalike she's been searching for, which sparks jealousy the second she sees him with Ririssa, and she casually suggests he cosplay Kai next while sneakily fishing for his number. Inside the changing room, Ririssa is met with praise, recognition settling in. But the moment fades when Nagomi shows up, forced to change publicly for the first time, panic creeping in as she struggles with her zipper, until cosplayers step forward offering help and compliments, replacing imagined judgment with kindness, and for the first time she sees it wasn't others holding her back, it was her own mind. Outside, Nagomi meets Ririssa again, insisting she attends Summer Komihead, showing her photos already going viral online, and before leaving urges her to enjoy the moment, because at this rate Ririssa is bound to be famous. On the train home, Ririssa slumps against Okumura, passes out, and when she stirs, she mumbles she loves him, and he says it back, while Hanyu overhears, disappointed to realize it's not the love she imagined. The next day, Hanyu submits the club's report to the principal, who frowns at the need to balance visibility with control. Ririssa walks into her classroom, only to get hit immediately with a full-on scolding from Makari. She's in serious trouble. Her eyes follow the glare toward the blackboard, where a message from her teacher waits. She's failed every single subject on the exam. Makari sighs, exasperated. Ririssa had thrown herself headfirst into the manga club with zero thought for schoolwork, and now she's paying the price. Meanwhile, Okumura waits anxiously when Hanyu finally steps in. She wastes no time, the application has been approved, but the report has to remain confidential. The excitement fades from Okumura instantly. Why keep it secret? Hanyu explains patiently. The principal isn't against the club, but he fears for the students' safety. Publishing the report could spark bullying, rumors online, backlash. Today's youth are fragile, and shielding them sometimes means saying no even when it stings. Okumura listens, weight settling on his shoulders, but he understands. He thanks Hanyu and waits for Ririssa. Moments later, Ririssa arrives, flanked by the student council, already agreeing to the terms. With a nod, the president gives the final go-ahead, but with one firm warning: no inappropriate content. Okumura's grin spreads. The club is officially saved. Before he can fully process it, Hanyu pulls him and Ririssa into a celebratory hug, a little too close for his comfort. Awkward as ever, he comments, and Hanyu teases him, asking where exactly the downside is. That's when it hits Ririssa. Mayura, the legendary cosplayer, is now their sensei. Before anyone can dwell, Makari barges in, sees the hug, and joins without hesitation. Okumura, desperate to shift the mood, challenges Hanyu to a video game, expecting a casual match. Nope, she dominates. Humorously, he dubs her the Milky Queen succubus Mayura. Mikari snickers, noticing Sensei's cosplay outfit, while Ririssa explains her teacher's legendary past. Hanyu sighs, correcting them. That was years ago, and she's only 22, not old. Mikari, ever cheeky, asks Okumura if he'd marry Sensei. He lists her best qualities, skills, kindness, beauty, but declines, saying she's too real for him. Mikari cackles. Hanyu, not pleased, is interrupted by Ririssa reminding her of the promised life hacks. Hanyu stresses the first rule, always take accurate measurements, prompting Ririssa to start checking herself before Hanyu stops her. Okumura, seeing the chaos, slips away, citing the council's rules. Mikari observes, both Sensei and Ririssa have perfect proportions and big eyes, making cosplay easier than in Hanyu's day, when wigs were expensive and hair had to be dyed manually. Then Hanyu's phone buzzes, a message from her manager. Her upcoming cosplay activities are cancelled, and excitement dims. In a bold move, Okumura throws out his private collection without hesitation. The student council president witnesses it, and to his surprise calls it responsible, noting he could repurchase it at 18. She suggests a group prayer to lighten the mood. The next morning, she casually asks about his cosplay plans. Before he can answer, his phone rings. Ogino with news. Rumors about Lilial are spreading, and thanks to Mr. Camera, she's ranked 5th among rising stars. Okumura defends her fiercely, and when Ririssa arrives, they celebrate together. 5th place feels like just the start. But nearby, a girl watches with burning jealousy, already plotting. The first step has been taken, but the cosplay world is just getting started.